Last night, the BC Lions blew a golden opportunity to finish first in the West, losing 26-17 to the Ticats. A devastating blow to BC coach Bob Obilovich and Lion quarterback Doug Flutie. The loss opens the door for the Calgary Stampeders and the Edmonton Eskimos. In our featured game, the Eskimos are in Winnipeg to play the Blue Bombers on a very icy field. The last time they met, the Eskimo defense stopped the Bomber running back Robert Mims in his tracks. We'll also keep an eye on Wally Buono and the Stampeders, home to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. In their last meeting, the Riders' defense punished Calgary quarterback Gilbert Renfro. Today, the Riders set their sights on Dan Barrett. The CFL Game of the Week on TSN. Brought to you by GMC Trucks. The trucks more people lean on. And by 7-Up. It's cool to be clear. It'll be breezy at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon. The field will be a little shorter and a little narrower, but the Edmonton Eskimos and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to play a football game here today. And special thanks to John Gregory and the Hamilton Tiger Cats for making this all possible, for making it a showdown this afternoon that's going to be worth something.
Yeah, the game means something. Edmonton, a great opportunity to finish first in the West, and the worst they can do is finish second. Of course, the Bombers, they're just going to tune it up for next week's semifinal.
There is a possibility for a three-way tie for top spot in the Western Division of the Canadian Football League. And there are several possibilities as to what could happen in this playoff puzzle. If Edmonton loses and Calgary wins today,
that means the Stampeders will host the Western Final and the BC Lions will travel to Edmonton next weekend.
Now, B, if Edmonton wins or ties and Calgary wins,
the Eskimos get a couple of weeks off and the BC Lions will move on to Calgary.
There is a plan C. If Edmonton wins or ties and Calgary loses, the Eskimos are still in top spot, but the BC Lions would finish in second place.
Yeah, things look pretty good for Edmonton right here. The worst they can do today is finish second, so that's not bad.
And plan D, if Edmonton loses and Calgary loses, the final standings give the BC Lions a shot at top spot. BC, Edmonton, and Calgary would be the order of finish if that happens this afternoon. Now, if ties come into play, there's a whole bunch more possibilities, but we won't bore you with any more of that right now. We'll send you to McMahon Stadium in Calgary, where Gordon Miller and Jamie Bowen are standing by.
Thanks very much, John. This is the happiest man in southern Alberta. Wally Buono watched with interest last night as the Hamilton Tiger Cats defeated the BC Lions. Jamie Bowen, all of a sudden the mood here has changed. Yesterday they were talking about dismal weather and a meaningless football game. Today they're talking about +3 conditions and a game that could mean Calgary's season.
Well, you just have to take a look at Wally Buono and a lot of the other players here at Calgary. They all have smiles on their face. They feel that they have a chance to control their destiny somewhat. They have to win today to have any chance of finishing in first place, and that's what they hope to do.
Now, when you're talking about Calgary, you're talking about a team that got off to a great start this season, but if you break their season into thirds, it looks like this. They started 6-0, but then 3-3. Now 1-4 over their last 5 games. Calgary has lost its last 2 football games. Momentum is a key heading into the playoffs.
And it's really tough if you're the Calgary Stampeders, because going into any playoffs, you want to have the momentum on your side. And I tell you, Gord, it's going to be very tough for them to kind of break that, but they're hoping to do that today.
All right, we'll keep an eye on this game for you as it progresses. Now let's go back to Winnipeg and John and Lee.
Well, we're ready for a chilly afternoon where Blue Bomber fans look like Eskimos at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon, but the game will go on, and the Eskimos and the Blue Bombers are about 3 minutes away from kickoff. Winnipeg Stadium, it didn't look like a place for football. It looked like a place for the Jets and the Oilers yesterday afternoon with 2 inches of ice covering the stadium. But we are set, and we'll play the final game of the regular season in 1991 between the Eskimos and the Blue Bombers on a slightly shorter field. Sandusky on the return, and he is out late. I'm not sure exactly what line he is on right now because we're playing on a drastically shortened field.
Now, you folks at home will have to bear with us a little bit today because the field is quite different. There's the goal line on the right of your screen. Now, that is only a 10-yard end zone. The field will only be 90 yards in length.
So you've got a 10-yard end zone, a 90-yard field, and the width is now shortened down to 60 yards as opposed to 65. And this is, of course, for the safety of the players. They just couldn't remove all the ice.
On first down for the Eskimos, Tracy Ham fires high as he intended that for Chris Armstrong. It'll be 2nd and 10 for the Eskimos. And the numbers for Tracy Ham pretty close to what he accomplished last year in a lot of areas.
They really are. I think the best thing he has done is cut down his interceptions. Last year, he had 24 interceptions. This year, only 13, so much improved in that department. But really, on a day like today when the field is slippery and the wind is howling and the temperature is cold, those numbers really don't mean a lot because it's going to be very difficult to throw the ball. The ace in the hole for the Edmonton Eskimos, they run the football better than any other team in the league. Now you may say, hey, how about Robert Mims? He leads the league in rushing, but collectively as a group, the Edmonton Eskimos are the best rushing football team in the CFL this year.
It is 2nd down and 10. The Eskimos are at the 24-yard line. Ham had protection. Now he gets away and is caught from behind as he fires. For Reggie Taylor, number 26, it'll be a Winnipeg. A first down for the Eskimos out near midfield. And the midfield stripe is the 45-yard line today.
What a job Tracy Ham did to buy himself some extra time. Pressure coming from Tyrone Jones. He's hauled down by Michael Souls, and Ham finally is allowed to get outside where he spots Reggie Taylor. They have their initial first down of the ball game, and they are out to around midfield, I guess.
Well, I think that is midfield today, but it is the 45, not the 55-yard line. Taylor carries, and he has better than 6 yards.
Boy, in a day like today, there's no question that the offensive and defensive lines will decide this football game. Both teams obviously like to run the ball. Those are the numbers for Reggie Taylor this year. Another tremendous year for him. But whoever can win the battle up front will probably win this football game. And so far, the Edmonton offensive line has done a pretty nice job.
2nd down and 3 to go. The Eskimos are at the Winnipeg 38. And that'll be an Eskimo first down. As Taylor carries once more, he is met by Jones and Randolph. Offensively for the Eskimos, Dermott, Verschovel, Conop, Ambrosi, and Bowles. The outside receivers, Armstrong and Sandusky. Ellison Gardner start inside for Tracy Ham. The runners this time will be Reggie Taylor and Michael Souls, with Blake Marshall still on the injury list. From the 34, first down Edmonton. Ham has it picked off by Rod Hill. And the first turnover of the game goes to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Hill is out across the 22 of Winnipeg.
Well, you talk about the big boys dominating the game, the offensive and defensive lines, and that may tell a story. But turnovers, of course, on a day like today will be a factor as well. Rod Hill with a pretty easy interception, a simple overthrow to Henry the Gizmo Williams. Hill right there for the interception, and the Blue Bombers get the first break of the ball game.
The breeze is favoring the Edmonton Eskimos here in the opening quarter. At game time, gusts of 37 kilometers per hour. Burgess on first down, hands off to Robert Mims, and Mims has better than 6 yards. Burgess had some interception problems this season, but he got an awful lot of yards passing. Second in total yards with 4,093. The TD to interception ratio, Leaf, dead even.
Yeah, not very good, but of course that's the way he's played throughout his career. He will take a lot of chances throwing the football, and it catches up with him.
On 2nd and 4, Mims has a Blue Bomber first down. Up front for the Bombers, a veteran group with Chris Walby, the ancient player up there in his 11th season with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
He's not going to like to hear you say that.
Yeah, he may watch the replay and catch that. Streeter and Willis are outside. Tuttle and Crefo, the other receivers, inside. Burgess at quarterback. Mims and Hudson will run the ball.
And Hudson, probably the unsung hero on that offense. He does a tremendous job at blocking and opening up holes for Robert Mims.
pick up 8. It'll be 1st and 10 Winnipeg now at the 32. Burgess for Perry Tuttle. He made the catch. The ball came loose as he hit the ground. The Bombers retained possession. A 15-yard gain for Perry Tuttle.
Perry Tuttle's had some injury problems this year, was out for a number of games with broken ribs, but now he is back and healthy, and Tom Burgess has all day to pick out Tuttle over the middle. And boy, if the offensive line can give Tommy Burgess that kind of protection throughout this afternoon, he shouldn't have a great deal of trouble finding his inside receivers, Tuttle and Grifo.
First down Winnipeg. Burgess goes for a bunch, looking for Larry Willis, and it's almost picked off. Eddie Thomas had a shot at his 7th interception. Willis got his hands on the ball. It'll be 2nd and 10. Defensively for the Eskimos, Bourgeau is in the middle, flanked by Goods and Williams. Some great linebackers in this group right here. Leroy Blue will not play. McLean is in his position, plus Bass and Ruck. And the secondary has shifted around quite a bit for the Eskimos all season long. 2nd and 10. For Grifo, and Burgess is high. The field doesn't look all that slippery, Leaf, at least in the early moments of the game.
Well, you and I had a walk around on it before the game, and although from a high standpoint looking down at it, it looks pretty good, there is a lot of moisture that's still in that turf that still is frozen. I'll tell you what's really helped today is the sun coming out. Broom ball shoes are the order of fashion this afternoon. Both teams using that kind of a shoe, rubber, soft rubber sole, to try and get as much grip as they can.
Bob Cameron ready to kick for the first time this afternoon on 3rd down. Henry Williams waits back at his 5. .39-yard kick, no return, and Ty Jones led the Bomber tacklers, number 35. So the Eskimos will start deep in their zone.
Of course, field position will play such a tremendous part in today's game, too, under these conditions. And who better to punt the football than Bob Cameron for Winnipeg, notorious throughout his career as a good, bad weather kicker, and on his first punt, he hit a beauty.
1st and 10. The Eskimos begin at the 7. Taylor cut from behind by Tyrone Jones, number 35. Defensively, the Bombers have juggled a little bit, not too much with Williams, Mikowas, and Gray up front. Mikowas has missed several games this season, playing in his 8th today. Peyton, Randolph, West, and Jones, and the corners are Hill and Brown. Sampson, Allen, and Evans round out the secondary.
Yeah, I guess the most notable absentee is Greg Battle. He is out with a knee injury. They want to get him healthy for next week's semifinal, so he will not play today.
Ham on 2nd and 10, fires low. Evans was covering on Craig Ellis.
Well, the Eskimos can't move the football back deep in their own territory after the Cameron good punt, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers hold, and they will get the ball back in excellent field position after this Glenn Harper kick.
Harper has been averaging 36.6 yards per kick, 38.2 last week, his longest 54. And he's right at the back of the Blue Bomber end zone. A 10-yard end zone. Or the Eskimo end zone, I should say. Matt Pierce taking Harper's kick. The Bombers on the exchange will have pretty good field position here. Penalty markers down. We'll sort that out for you when we return to Winnipeg Stadium. It's a chilly day for football and no scoring yet.
frame by frame, strike after strike, TSN puts you in the right lane with the Hiram Walker Special Old Pins game. The dollars keep rolling in and every frame is on the line as Canada's top bowlers try to strike it rich and capture the championship title. Veteran bowler Igor Bertuzzi hits the hardwood to lead the pack against Jim Campar, Gord Kebbell, and Gary Coster in a chase to the semifinal berth. The Hiram Walker Special Old Pins game, Saturday, 7 Eastern, here on Real TV, TSN.
Pieces of protection you trust, depending on where you go. And one that goes anywhere you do. Trust Trojan condoms. Reduce the risk.
It's a race with a checkered flag. A top field battles the challenging turns of Mossport Park. We've got high-speed excitement of the Export A Formula 2000 Series. Thursday, 6 Eastern on Real TV, TSN.
Tom Burgess and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have the football and are set for a first down beginning at the 37-yard line. Prior to the game, the Bomber quarterback talked about playing on a day like this at Winnipeg Stadium.
I've played on slippery fields, I've played on cold days, windy days, but if you put them all three together, I've never played in anything like this before. I just hope there's enough kid in me today to enjoy this.
Bundle up. Keep the mitts on when you're on the sidelines.
I love it. You know, you have to have a good attitude on a day like today. You know, a lot of players might say, geez, why do I have to play in these conditions? But it's the guys with the good attitude who will play well and function properly in these conditions.
Robert Mims has a couple. Danny Bass was there to meet him, number 30 for the Eskimos. And here's what it is like this afternoon weather-wise. Temperature minus 13, a northwest breeze. Favors the Eskimos in the opening quarter, and it is a frozen artificial turf in Winnipeg Stadium.
I think probably the most difficult thing is it's a gusting breeze. Could get up to 50 kilometers per hour this afternoon, so that plays, of course, havoc with quarterbacks trying to throw the football.
Burgess on 2nd and 8. Flags are down. House is in behind the coverage, but he slipped. Pass was a little overthrown.
Looked like Rick House tripped over his own feet, and he's complaining about some interference on that, but simply the ball well overthrown. Larry Ruck, who's had a tremendous year for the Eskimos, 5 sacks, and he comes free just a little bit late, but nevertheless he does get the hit on Tom Burgess.
Penalty was against the Eskimos. Offside, so it'll be 2nd and 2 for the Bombers right at midfield. And that this afternoon, folks, is the 45-yard line, playing on a 90-yard field because of the icy conditions surrounding the turf at Winnipeg Stadium. Here's Mims, and he stopped short of the first down. Larry Ruck in on the tackle once more, and he had a little help from the toaster, number 91, and Benny Goods as well. As the Blue Bombers go, Robert Mims has to have a great afternoon. When he is over 100 yards in a game, the Bombers 9-1. When Mims doesn't have that kind of a day and he's less than 100 yards, 0-7.
Does that tell a story?
It certainly does.
Of course, the last time these two teams met, well documented, Robert Mims only had 15 yards total on the ground. The Edmonton Eskimos totally shut him down, and he is a tackle-to-tackle kind of runner. He does not run the sweeps and the quick pitches very well, so if the Eskimos can bunch up the middle, they can shut him down.
3rd and 1, and the Bombers appear to have the first down. 6:27 to go in the opening quarter. No scoring so far. And another variety of footwear being worn here this afternoon. What would you call that?
They call that shark's teeth footwear. I don't know. That's a tough choice. I never liked the broom ball shoes. I mean, most of the guys are wearing them today, but in my cold days playing on the frozen turf in Regina, just didn't like that soft rubber. I like a little harder surface on my foot.
Good fake by Burgess on 1st and 10. Tries to get some room outside, and he's slowed down by Willie Pless.
And he was stopped on the play by Willie Pless.
Willie Pless, who has had a tremendous season on the Edmonton Eskimo defense. So many categories he's played well in, sacking the quarterback, interceptions. He gets the sack right there. Stops Burgess for about a ½ yard loss. Willie Pless, I thought he was the defensive player of the year in the Western Conference. They chose someone else.
2nd and 10 for Burgess and the Bombers. Burgess stands up and fires, complete. Perry Tuttle makes the catch. He is forced back to first down territory, but we'll see where they spot the ball.
Well, I think they're going to give him a very generous spot, and the Bombers will, in fact, pick up the first down. But the second good catch over the middle that Perry Tuttle has made here in the first quarter. Perry Tuttle fearless as he comes across there, and Tommy Burgess with all kinds of time to throw picks him out.
Bombers now at the Eskimo 30-yard line. First and 10. Mims has nowhere to go. Caught by Michel Bourgeau, number 94. Mims actually ran right into Bourgeau.
Well, this is what the Eskimos did so effectively the last time these two teams played. They just jammed that middle area from tackle to tackle, and Robert Mims had nowhere to run. See Bourgeau, 94, coming in with the initial pressure.
A 5-yard loss caused by Bourgeau. It is second and 15. The Bombers now back at the Eskimo 35. Burgess looks deep and fires a little too far for Eric Streeter, number 80. Slow down, Eric. You get that ice in the end zone, you might be at the border. That's what the field looked like yesterday, completely covered in ice. Trying to keep the Tootsies toasty warm. That's Reggie Taylor.
That will be a popular spot, the end of the bench today.
Bob Cameron is in again. Standing back at the Winnipeg 40. Good kick for Cameron, and Henry Williams has no play, so it sails as a 45-yard single, and the Bombers are on the board first, thanks to Bob Cameron.
It'll be interesting for the coaches now. The strategies will change slightly this afternoon. With the goalposts still in their normal spots, it'll be actually at the end of the end zone. So if you're from the 20-yard line, in effect, what you'll end up having is a 37-yard field goal attempt. So the strategies will be a little different this afternoon. That time, although they were on the Edmonton 35, the Bombers elected to punt rather than try for what would have been a 52-yard field goal. So both the head coach Darryl Rogers and Ron Lancaster will have to do some extra thinking this afternoon.
Blue Bombers in front 1-0. Tracy Ham heads out to lead the Eskimo offense.
That is the broom ball shoe that most of the fellows are wearing, and that rubber is a soft rubber and a little more supple in these cold conditions, and some players feel that they get a better grip with that. Kind of suction cups on the bottom of that shoe as well.
Bomber drive used up 4 minutes and 10 seconds. 3:57 remaining in the opening quarter, with Winnipeg leading 1-0.
I was looking at Tracy Ham's statistics this morning and how they stack up with his great year of last year. Now, he threw 36 touchdown passes last season. He's at 30 this year. I would say that's pretty commendable. But, you know, everybody talks about Tracy Ham as a running quarterback, and he is right on target. Last year, he set a rushing record for quarterbacks. Well, coming into this game, he's at 976 yards, 24 away from breaking the 1,000 barrier. He's averaging 8.1 yards every time he runs with it. Last year, exactly 8.1. Last year, he had 5 touchdowns. This year, he has 5 touchdowns. So you talk about a guy who performs at the same level year after year. Tracy Ham is the epitome of that.
Ham and the Eskimos begin at the Edmonton 25. For a receiver, comes up with Michael Souls, and Souls is tough to bring down as he fights for a first down, and he comes up just a little bit short.
Well, that time the offensive line for the Eskimos did a super job pass protecting for Tracy Ham. He was able to pick out Michael Souls. And the matchup we're going to follow this afternoon is Tyrone Jones against the left tackle, the Eskimos' Blake Dermott. And you see right there, Blake Dermott, a super job, had a pretty good hold on Tyrone Sweater.
The gain is 9. This is 2nd and 1. Edmonton trying to get across the 35 for a first down. And Souls does have the first down. The Eskimo drive continues. 2:50 to go in the opening quarter, with Winnipeg leading 1-0. A win for the Eskimos this afternoon, or even a tie, would clinch top spot in the Western Division. The Bombers are getting ready for the Eastern semifinal here against Ottawa next weekend. Tracy Ham looks deep. And he's on target for Chris Armstrong, number 77. Daryl Sampson was over to force Armstrong out.
What an addition he has been to the Eskimo offense in the second half of the season. Tracy Ham with all kinds of time. He gets outside of Alfred Payton, 56. That's a mistake. Now he has just that much more time to pick out a receiver downfield, and Chris Armstrong adjusts beautifully to that long pass, and what a huge play that has been for the Eskimo offense.
A 45-yard gain for Chris Armstrong, and the Eskimos are now at the Blue Bomber 7. Taylor, and he's caught right at the line of scrimmage. Paul Randolph, number 36, got to Reggie Taylor that time.
Well, I guess you would say the strength of the Bomber defense is that linebacking core, and Paul Randolph today, who is filling in for Greg Battle, slides off and makes a beautiful tackle.
It'll be 2nd and goal to go. The Eskimos at the Bomber 7. And looks both ways. Tries to find a receiver. He has Ellis. He couldn't hang on. Greg Ellis almost had the Eskimo touchdown.
Boy, for Craig Ellis, this is like going back to his college days with the old short end zone. He had a tightrope there, only a 10-yard end zone today on this shortened field. Ham buys himself once again extra time to throw, and he threw a perfect strike. Ellis just couldn't hang on. See, now he's got to worry about keeping his feet in balance at the dead ball line.
A 90-yard field at Winnipeg this afternoon. 2 10-yard end zones. And the field has been narrowed to about 60 yards. Going for the lead now, Dean Dorsey. The field goal is good. And the Eskimos move in front of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's going to be a low-scoring afternoon, I believe. 3-1 in the first quarter. Winnipeg Blue Bombers are down 3-1 to the Edmonton Eskimos. And we're ready for a Bomber first down.
You know, it's funny, a commercial you and I were saying with this 90-yard field, you know, you throw a 40-yard pass and you're in scoring position right away. Oh boy, the strategies will be different this afternoon. I think both offensive lines so far in the first quarter doing an excellent job pass protecting for their quarterbacks, and I think that can be attributed to the fact that the defensive lines just cannot get great footing and a good start on their pass rushes.
So is the advantage to the offense because everyone knows what they're trying to do and where they're trying to go?
Yeah, I really think so. I mean, had the field been really horrible, sometimes that advantage slides over to the defense, but today definitely an offensive advantage.
First down Winnipeg, and this is Robert Mims. A gain of 4, stopped by Willie Pless, number 39.
What the Eskimo defense does so well is their 3 down linemen, Michel Bourgeau, Brett Williams, and Benny Goods, they sacrifice themselves. They fill and plug the holes, and that paves the way for the linebackers to shine. Willie Pless, Danny Bass, Larry Ruck, those guys, they make most of the tackles because the front 3 sacrifice themselves and jam up those holes.
The gain is 4. This is 2nd and 6 for Burgess. Looking to the far side, and no one is there. So Bob Cameron trots onto the field once more. Talking with Darrell Rogers yesterday, he seemed to think that Burgess really needed to get a good start to be really effective. Yeah, he hasn't had all that many.
No, he was pretty candid about it. He said if he doesn't start well, he usually doesn't play well. He's not the kind of guy that can recover after a bad first quarter or first half.
Bob Cameron's 3rd punt of the afternoon. He already has 1 single and has accounted for the only Bomber point of the day. Henry Williams on the return, looking to get outside, and he's caught by the first man downfield. James West leading the Bomber tacklers that time, and that will end the opening quarter at Winnipeg Stadium.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to congratulate the winners of the Canadian Publishers, the Blue Bombers, and their Eyes on You contest.
The Eskimos leading 3-1.
First prize winner of Spell the Blue Bombers contest is Jerry and Allison Cora of Covent Grove, who have won 2 tickets to the 1991 Great Cup.
It is a chilly afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium. The field a little bit slippery, but it looked a lot worse yesterday.
Second prize winner is W.F. Higgins.
Back live at Winnipeg Stadium, a hearty group on hand here for this football afternoon. Minus 13 right now. 23,000 tickets were sold prior to the game, so that's a decent crowd here on a chilly, chilly afternoon.
I think a pretty good crowd has turned out to watch their Bombers play, and a lot at stake, of course, for the Edmonton Eskimos. They control their own destiny about where they will finish. A win today clinches first place, but look at this group. Hey, hats off to the fans in Winnipeg. They don't care about cold weather. I mean, they're used to it.
We Manitobans are a hardy breed.
Oh, you are. You're taking credit for that now today, that you're a hardy person, are you?
I'm shivering a little bit
You
today,
weren't saying that early this morning. Come on.
You're absolutely right. About to begin the second quarter. The Eskimos are 1st and 10. The Edmonton 31. Good fake by Tracy Ham. Rod Hill was covering on Armstrong with Sampson. And it'll be an Eskimo first down.
After a gain of 11 yards,
An 11-yard gain for Armstrong. And the first quarter stats favor the Blue Bombers in net yards. The Eskimos one big passing play. Armstrong catching a 45-yarder. Good run by Reggie Taylor as Quincy Williams drags him down. Now the other game just getting underway in Canadian football this afternoon at McMahon in Calgary. Stampeders and the Rough Riders. And back live at Winnipeg Stadium, Jim Sandusky's 10-yard reception has moved the Eskimos deeper into Winnipeg territory. Edmonton leading 3-1. Second quarter just underway. Taylor had trouble with his footing and ran right into James West. And Alfred Payton, number 56. A loss of 2 yards.
Well, that's where the Bombers are so tough. You see 56 Payton at the middle of your screen. He just slides between Rod Conniff and Pierre Verchefaux, the left guard. Nobody blocks him, and he is into the backfield so quickly.
It'll be 2nd and 12. The Eskimos at the Winnipeg 36. Ham has time. Sideline pass. Rod Hill got his hands on it. Intended for Jim Sandusky.
Well, Rod Hill, the KG veteran, he was reading half the receiver and half the quarterback. He was looking right into the backfield at Tracy Ham, and as Tracy Ham cocked his arm, he knew that Sandusky was going to be breaking down, trying to go to the out. He broke on the football and almost had the interception.
So Glenn Harper is in. 3rd and 12. 3 deep for the Bombers. And that one bounces just outside and trickles through the end zone for an Edmonton single point.
The end zone, good for a single point.
4-1 Edmonton in the second quarter. A procedure call against the Edmonton Eskimos on 3rd down in the Harper punting situation, so they've taken the point off the scoreboard. And the Eskimos will kick once more. 3rd and 17 now. .12:20 to play till halftime. A chilly afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium. Bombers have played through 17 weeks of good weather and run into this here today. Harper's kick bouncing at the 5. Number 32 starts the return for Winnipeg. And he's out across the 15. It'll be first down Winnipeg. Now let's get to Calgary and see what's going on at McMahon. And on first down at the Winnipeg 10, Burgess is nailed.
Stampeders made it look pretty easy there. John Beals with an opening touchdown catch. Leroy Blue is in the game. He really wasn't going to play much today. He's been hobbled by injuries the last few weeks, but Ron Lancaster decides that he will let Leroy have some fun playing this cold weather, and he comes up with a sack on Tommy Burgess.
A 3-yard loss. This is 2nd and 13. Bombers back at the 12. Draw to Robert Mims, and that is well read by the Eskimo defense. Edmonton did a great job shutting down the Bomber running game the last time.
Well, Leroy Blue making his presence felt as he not only gets a sack, but he comes up and makes the play on Mims. There he is working on Steve Rhoda Huskers. Well, let it run and just watch how he neutralizes the block of Steve Rhoda Huskers, waits for Mims to cut back to the outside, and there he is to make the tackle. So back-to-back, tremendous defensive plays by Leroy Blue.
3-1 Edmonton leading Winnipeg. It is 3rd and 13, and Cameron a couple of yards deep in his end zone to kick for the 4th time today. Got a deep kick by Cameron, fielded by Sandusky. And the Eskimos get great field position on the exchange.
I think both teams playing it very smart this afternoon. They have a deep returner and then a short returner in case of the short punt, as happened to Bob Cameron right there. Sandusky did not let the ball bounce, which coaches love to see. Caught it on the fly, and a very short punt gives the Edmonton Eskimos excellent field position.
At the 34-yard line, 1st and 10 Edmonton. And there's some early movements. Procedure or offside? We'll check it out. Might have been Alfred Payton getting a jump on things.
He was in there in a hurry. Now, I don't know if he was drawn offside.
Procedure. Edmonton number 8. First down repeated.
He was drawn offside.
He was drawn by Tracy Ham. 10-18 till halftime, with the Eskimos in front 3-1. 1st and 15 Edmonton at the 39 now. And with time to throw, looking deep. Armstrong was in behind the cover of Daryl Sampson, and the pass was off target.
Nothing fancy about this pattern by Chris Armstrong. Is just, can I get behind Daryl Sampson? And he certainly does, but the ball just thrown to the inside enough. Sampson with a subtle bump about halfway through that pattern knocked Armstrong just enough off stride that he couldn't react and come inside and make that catch.
Now 2nd and 15. The Eskimos at the Winnipeg 39. As he fired the ball. Sandusky was the intended receiver. Coverage by Michael Allen.
And he was covered on the play by Michael Allen.
Tyrone Jones, nobody there to block him. It didn't matter. Tracy Ham able to get the ball off quickly enough. He Took a pretty good hit in the mouth, though, from Tyrone.
3rd and 15. Harper is in for the Eskimos. Matt Pierce waiting for Harper's punt. And the Eskimo coverage was top-notch. Penalty marker is down. Larry Ruck leading the Edmonton tacklers. A 33-yard punt. We'll check out the penalty infraction.
Brian Walling was also in the tackle.
The Eskimos lead at 3-1.
Objectionable conduct. Winnipeg number 10. Objectionable conduct. Winnipeg number 10. First down.
That's Rod Hill, and I guess he was yapping a little bit down there.
Not Rod. He wouldn't do that, would he?
He might have been. Tracy Ham and the Eskimos have the lead for now. 3-1 on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And later this afternoon, we'll solve the playoff puzzle in the West. But before it's all over, we could have a 3-way tie for top spot. Edmonton currently there with the best record, 11-6. BC with 11 wins as well, and Calgary with 10 wins. Tom Burgess, good fake, but he has to get out of his end zone. Burgess on the run, and he stopped short of the first down. Larry Ruck, number 47, got to the Bomber quarterback.
Now, John, you touched on it in the opening, talking about Tom Burgess and Tracy Ham. Of course, Tracy Ham, a great runner, but Tom Burgess, not too bad either. Those are his numbers from this year. He's not noted for his running ability, but when the occasion arises, he's not too bad at it, as he showed right there.
He got 9 yards that time.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot here, starting at their own 1-yard line, and they would certainly love to at least pick up a couple of first downs before maybe they have to give up the football and try and reestablish some field position.
Burgess carries and will have the Winnipeg first down with 8:20 to go in the opening quarter. The Eskimos leading 3-1. Bombers getting ready for the Ottawa Rough Riders here next weekend. And the Eskimos gunning for top spots.
That's head coach, or assistant coach, John Payne right there on your screen. Used to be the head coach, of course, of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders and Hamilton Tiger Cats. And he coaches the offensive line here in Winnipeg, and I would say it's the best offensive line in the CFL.
Burgess on 1st and 10. Man open, Creefo, and he couldn't hang on. Rob Creefo had the opportunity. Mark Mathis, number 13, made a strong defensive play.
Creefo had difficulty looking back into the sun there. Of course, at this time of the year, the sun's so low, and you'll see that Creefo, as he looked back, he wasn't quite sure. You know, it looks like a little wee black pea coming at you, that ball, and Mathis broke on it, almost had a chance for the interception, but Creefo, no doubt he had difficulty looking back at it.
That sunshine is a welcome sight here in Winnipeg today. 2nd and 10, Burgess. Can't find a man open now. He's got Creefo, and Creefo is stopped short of the first down. Mathis again.
And he was brought down by Mark Mathis.
Boy, Tom Burgess just couldn't see Eric Streeter deep downfield. About 20 yards down the sidelines, he was wide open, and had Burgess been able to spot him, certainly could have picked up a first down. He chose to throw underneath to Creefo. Mathis with the tackle, and the Bombers will have to give up the football.
Ball is at the 16.
Boy, the Eskimos have had good field position in this entire first half. Seems like they've been playing totally in Winnipeg's end of the field, but they only have 3 points to show for it.
Cameron from his 1. Cameron sees something open up. Now he looks upfield to throw the pass, and it's knocked down by Roy Bennett.
Mistake.
Error.
Huge mistake by Bob Cameron. That was not a design play. He did that on his own. He saw an opening, you'll see, to the outside here, and he felt that he could run for it, but Mark Mathis, 13, cuts him off. They get pressure from behind. He has to throw it. Now he's stuck in a crisis situation. It's a turnover. Bombers make the big mistake.
Number 12, Bobby Evans, was the intended receiver. Bob Cameron not happy with himself. The Eskimos lead it 3-1. that much scoring in Winnipeg. And the game is about a half hour ahead of the Calgary match. Only 4 points on the board. The field a little bit slippery, treacherous in spots. The Bomber bird can still dance on the ice.
Doesn't bother him at all. Or her.
From the 16-yard line, the Eskimos. First down. Souls. Got away from one tackler, and Souls narrows in on a first down. There's a penalty marker on the field. Souls comes up short of the first. Penalty looks like it is against the Eskimos.
Holding. Edmonton number 26. First down repeated.
That's the running back. Reggie Taylor nailed that time. And it wipes out a big Eskimo gain.
Well, Blake Marshall not playing today. Michael Souls, of course, taking his spot. Blake Marshall will be back for the playoffs. Ron Lancaster told us yesterday, but it would be kind of nice to have Blake in there pounding away at this Winnipeg defense.
First and 20 for the Eskimos now. Back at the Winnipeg 26. Taylor cut from behind. Strong work by James West, number 58. The loss is 3.
Seems like the Winnipeg defense has played in their own end of the field all this first half, but they have made some outstanding defensive plays right here. Slipping the block. Alfred Payton, 56 on. He's in on Reggie Taylor. No chance for Taylor to get to the outside. Outside running is tough today.
Taylor has lost yardage on his last 2 carries. Second and 23. Pressure on Tracy Ham. Mike Gray is there. Ham got it away. Taylor couldn't hang on.
Boy, an ad-lib play for Tracy Ham, and he had Taylor open, but that's going to happen on a cold afternoon like this. Not every receiver is going to be able to hang on to all the passes thrown to him. Reggie Taylor couldn't. And once again, the Edmonton Eskimos sputter in Winnipeg territory. Kind of unusual for them. They have scored 74 touchdowns. Ron Lancaster's team has. That is first in the league. They seem to every time get good production when they get down in the red zone. But today, the Winnipeg defense has really shut them down.
Glenn Harper standing out at the Blue Bomber 43. Good kick into the wind by Harper, and it'll sail right through the end zone. A 39-yard single. It is 4-1.
Through the end zone and out into the frozen tundra.
Yes, absolutely.
I think Winnipeg very happy to give up a single point there and bring it out to the 25-yard line.
Yeah, after turning it over to the Eskimos at the 16. Coming up at halftime, live, the Rough Riders and the Calgary Stampeders will take you to McMahon Stadium. More of this West Division playoff puzzle for you on the final day of the CFL's regular season. Robert Mims on first down. Good run by Mims, who looked to be slowed initially. And Mims will have at least 7.
Well, a lot at stake today for Robert Mims. He came into this game 153 yards short of Willie Burden's single-season rushing mark, and I think it be very difficult on a day like today to get that kind of yardage. He is the injured Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Good blocking at the point of attack. Number 64, Bob Molly, with the kick out. Mims with some good hard running, but he got hit by about 4 or 5 guys, took some pretty good shots, and he is still down.
The leading rusher in Canadian football, Robert Mims, with 1,743 yards coming into the game.
It's interesting, the Bombers as a team are 4th in the league in rushing, although they have the #1 runner on their team in Mims, but he is the one player that does all the running. Nobody else really touches the football on the ground that much. Warren Hudson is not called upon to run the football a great deal, so it is all Robert Mims. So for a defense, it becomes a little easier. They only have one guy they have to key on to shut down the run.
He has had a sensational season for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Again, closing in on Willie Burton, the all-time rushing yards in one season. Burton established that in 1975. Almost 1,900 yards.
Of course, Robert Mims' mark is a club record for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
And it's Winnipeg 2nd and 3.
And this is not a good sign.
Mims being helped to the sidelines now.
Kind of offense they like to run, establishing the run. This could be a big blow to them.
Matt Pierce will go in for Robert Mims. He's number 32. Burgess on 2nd down, looks long. Here's Perry Tuttle, and he drew double coverage, tipped away by Mike Babb and David Shelton.
Tommy Burgess trying to hit the home run, but good defense by the Eskimos. Mike Babb getting the start at the middle safety spot. He comes over and helps out David Shelton. And interesting, the Eskimos going with 5 imports in the secondary this afternoon. Mike Babb, they want to see what kind of a contribution he can make to this club.
Cameron is kicking again. Better this time with the breeze. Henry Williams on the return, lost the ball. And the Bombers may have recovered. Yes, they have. A turnover against the Eskimos. Bobby Evans, I believe, number 12, coming up with a loose ball, fumbled by Henry Williams.
I think he got it. He's the happiest guy coming off the field. Henry Williams cops one up as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers just swarm over Williams. The good hit, the ball comes loose, and the Bombers now get a break.
McGiz gets a lecture. 1st and 10 Winnipeg. Burgess at the 23. Hit as he fires by Benny Goods. And the intended receiver was down the right side. Number 1, Larry Willis.
Willis was open too, so it really shows you what pressure can do to foil an offense. Willis open on the sidelines, but Burgess just doesn't have enough time to complete that throw. Throwing off the back foot, getting hit at the same time. That's not a lot of fun.
No, I wouldn't think so. And hitting that hard turf at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon. 3:18 till the half. The Eskimos lead 4-1. 2nd and 10 Blue Bombers. Burgess has to get out of there. Is there room to run for the 1st down? He comes up a little bit short. Burgess is 2 yards short of the 1st down. Deep in Eskimo territory. But he doesn't have his ace running back in the backfield. Robert Mims is on the sideline. 3 minutes to halftime. The Eskimos in front by 3. And the Blue Bombers warm up Troy Westwood on the sidelines. But they will gamble here on 3rd and 2.
That really shows you how Darryl Rogers feels about kicking into this wind that is in the face of the Blue Bombers right now. He will gamble on a good 2 yards on 3rd down, probably 2.5, and doesn't feel that Troy Westwood has a strong enough leg to.
They're going for it. 3rd and a bunch. Hudson gets the call. Hudson has the 1st down. The Bomber drive continues. Out of the Eskimo 10.
Matt Pierce with some good hard running, and they open a nice good block by 68 Nick Benjamin, the right guard, just enough for Matt Pierce to get through. And so on a pretty gutsy call, 3rd and 2.5, Darryl Rogers is a winner as his team picks up the 1st down and keeps this drive going.
First down, goal to go at the Eskimo 10. Burgess is caught, and he escapes. Escapes again. Burgess down to about the 6. He looked to be stopped a couple of times.
Oh, Benny Goods had a wonderful opportunity to sack him in the backfield, but somehow Tom Burgess got away from that tackle. And boy, it's worth repeating. I mean, he is not noted for his running ability, but every once in a while he will surprise you. There he gets away from Leroy Blue. He got away from Benny Goods and slips another tackle. He ends up picking up 4 yards. How about that?
Second and goal to go from the 6 for the Bombers now. Burgess fired it behind his intended receiver, Larry Willis. Burgess 3 for 12 in passing so far. And he has a few problems when he looks at his backfield and doesn't see Robert Mims standing there. Now the Bombers will go for the field goal and for the tie. Cameron holding. A 22-yard field goal. Troy Westwood has it whistled down.
Time count violation. Winnipeg number 74.
This does make a difference. A 22-yarder now becomes a 27-yarder into a pretty gusty breeze that's gusting up to about 50 kilometers per hour this afternoon. So this could be costly.
Randolph.
There are no gimmies this afternoon.
No, everything is going to be tough all afternoon here. Ray Westwood got on a 14 of 21. And he just made that one.
He hit that as hard as he could and barely made it from 27 yards. That tells you what kind of wind is gusting on that field this afternoon. There's a shot of it.
All even with 1:57 till the half. It's 4-4. Bomber fans getting ready for the playoffs and the Grey Cup 3 Sundays from now right here at Winnipeg Stadium.
Now these people don't like dancing. They're just doing this to stay warm. No, they like dancing here. They play great music in Winnipeg. It'd be commercials and so forth.
How you doing? Take care of Mom, Pop. That one was for you guys.
Made it by a bunch, too, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
Must have been at least a yard over.
Never in doubt, Mom.
It's 4-4. The Eskimos with a lot more on the line than the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here this afternoon. First place is riding on the outcome for Edmonton. First and 10. Tracy Hammond Company at the 25. Reggie Taylor. A gain of about 4 for Taylor. Paul Randolph was in on the tackle, along with Mike Gray.
Well, the running has been tough for both teams this afternoon between the tackles. Front sevens of both defenses doing an excellent job to shut that down.
Second down. Michael Souls was the intended receiver. He couldn't hang on.
Boy, it was a great call, too. It's a swing screen to the running back, Michael Souls, and he had 2 blockers out in front of him, Randy Ambrosi and Pierre Vercheval, and had he been able to hang on to this football, he stood a very good chance of picking up the first down, and that is catchable. Forget about the cold, forget about the wind. That's a ball that should have been caught.
Enter Glenn Harper.
Yeah, the Bombers are going to still have plenty of time to try and take the lead going into the locker room. 1:34 remaining. Harper is, however, kicking with the wind.
Cummings on the return for Winnipeg, and it bounced over his head, and he's lucky to get back out around the 8-yard line.
61-yard punt by Glenn Harper. He really nails it with the wind. I'm not sure whether Cummings touched that. He obviously felt like he did. He didn't let it go into the end zone to give up the single. Felt like he had to still recover it. The Bombers have a long way to go.
Oh, it's a lot shorter than it was a week ago.
Yes,
when
it
they
is.
used to play on those 110-yard fields in Canadian football. If you joined us late, this is a 90-yard playing surface this afternoon. Tom Burgess has not been particularly effective passing, but he's no worse than even, tied at 4-4. Matt Pierce carried that time, number 32. The tackle was supplied by number 47, Larry Ruck, who's had a good day so far.
Larry Ruck never seems to have a bad day. I mean, you talk about your Willie Plesses and Danny Basses, the Toaster Williams, and those players, and Larry Ruck, all he does is just game after game give us good, solid performance. Made the Western All-Star team a year ago.
An injured Eskimo, number 40, Benny Goods. I think they'll be looking forward to halftime and just warming up a little bit. It's tough to make those helmets fit over the balaclavas, isn't it?
Yes, I would think so.
A reminder, at halftime, we'll send you to McMahon in Calgary and update the story there. Saskatchewan and Calgary, and that has bearings on the final playoff spot. Calgary leading 10-3 right now. Quote of the week goes to that man, Darryl Rogers. We have home ice advantage.
I like that.
Second and 9 with 1:03 to go. Pierce on a slight delay, and the Bombers are set to kick it away again. Leroy Blue, not expected to see a lot of action this afternoon, has been in the middle of it today.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to play at all, but obviously something has happened to Mike McLean, and Leroy Blue has been forced into action.
Eskimos have called a timeout with 58 seconds to go.
Yeah, smart move there. 58 remaining. The Bombers could have taken the clock down to 38, but now the clock will not start, of course, until the ball is snapped, and that will allow Henry Williams an opportunity to give his offense some good field position. Chance for them to maybe get a half-ending field goal attempt.
Cameron right on his goal line. Keeps it a little low. Henry Williams out around midfield. And he's having difficulty with traction here today. The tackle made by Michael Allen. And the Giz hasn't been able to get untracked at all. But he has been untracked many an afternoon this season. 1,426 yards in punt return total so far this season. The Bombers as a team with no punt return game at all, according to Darryl Rogers, 696. 49 seconds till halftime. Ham on first down. Decides to run. He's caught from behind and lost the ball. It rolls out of bounds, and I'm not sure who touched it last.
They are calling him down on that play, so Edmonton will keep possession.
And get a 4-yard gain with 40 seconds to play till halftime. It's all even, folks. 4-4. Ham hoping to get into field goal range, and he is on target for Armstrong, number 77, an 11-yard gain. Let's update the Calgary situation with Gord.
All right, thanks, John. First play of the second quarter. Dave Ridgway hits from 46 yards out. Saskatchewan has actually had the edge in play in the last 5 minutes or so. The Riders now trail by 4, 10-6 early in the second quarter.
Reggie Taylor makes the catch far side. on first down, but there is not much yardage for Taylor.
A super play by Andrew Thomas, who's in playing the middle safety spot. He got over so quickly as Taylor caught the football, he had no chance to run.
Now 13 seconds till halftime. Ham intended that for Sandusky, and Rod Hill was covering. Hill in a collision on the sidelines with one of our technical crew down there.
It's a good shot. Rod Hill really cagey on the corner. This is the second time he's had a shot at interceptions this afternoon. I'm sure he is just as happy to knock the ball away, but he does an excellent job of not only keeping an eye on his coverage man, but also looking into the backfield and watching the quarterback's eyes. And he reads quarterbacks as well as any corner, and that time he broke nicely on the football to knock it away.
It is third down and 9 to go with 8 seconds remaining. Sandusky, penalty marker is down. Sandusky turns and kicks it through the end zone. Was he onside? I don't believe he was. There was a penalty marker down. We'll have to sort this out for you. I have not seen that one.
No, I haven't. I'm not sure what page that is in the playbook. We'll let Dave Ewell sort this one out.
We'll leave it to Dave.
Ineligible receiver, Edmonton number 7, third down repeated.
Edmonton called for ineligible receiver.
So the half cannot end on a penalty. Sandusky was ruled ineligible. I don't know if we can see where he lined up. Nice kick, though, right through the end zone.
Kick.
This will be the last play of the opening half. Time has expired. And we'll end the first half even at 4. The Eskimos had the advantage for a while. The Blue Bombers came back to get even on an icy afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium. Back at Winnipeg Stadium as we get set to begin the second half. It is 4-4, and let's look back at the kickoff, a rather interesting one here. As the Bombers kicked off and Michael Allen had a chance to recover. He was obviously onside because there were no penalty markers, but the Eskimos come up with it. That's Henry Williams with a football, and the Eskimos begin at the 5-yard line. 1st and 10. Michael Soles pulls his way for a couple.
Quarterbacks had a tough time throwing the football in the first half, as you'll see by their numbers. Tracy Ham only 7 completions, Tom Burgess only 3, but Tracy Ham, in all fairness to him, his receivers dropped a few on him. He didn't actually have too much difficulty throwing, not like Tom Burgess. He was absolutely stone cold.
Fitting right in with the elements.
Yes.
On an icy afternoon in Winnipeg. The gain was 3. This is 2nd and 7 Eskimos. Ham has time to throw, looking to the far side, and it's intercepted. Brown flipped it out for Michael Allen. And for Les Brown, that's his 10th interception of the season.
But a super job by Les Brown to come up with that interception. He's got Jordan Gartner one-on-one. Gartner with the hook and go, and as he goes, Brown is right there on the inside hip in perfect position to make the interception. He will fumble the football. Michael Allen, actually, he tries to lateral to Michael Allen, but the Bombers pick up another turnover.
It is a Winnipeg first down at the Bomber 41. Burgess can't find a receiver, carries himself, and he gets across midfield. And Les Brown moves up a notch amongst the all-time reception leaders in Canadian football, ahead of Garney Henley in the 3rd spot.
Garney Henley will be happy. Of course, he's a coach with the Hamilton Tiger Cats now, and they had the big win out in BC last night. But Les Brown, year after year, this will be the 2nd year that he will lead the CFL in interceptions.
Matt Pierce on 2nd and 4, and he is close to first down territory. We'll see where they spot the ball. Pierce is into the ball game because Robert Mims is out with an ankle injury, and Mims will not be back today. Hopefully he'll be back for the Eastern semifinal next week.
That is the official word right now, that the ankle is not bad. He will not play today, but he should be ready next week when they will entertain the Ottawa Rough Riders right here in Winnipeg Stadium. A lot of football is going to be played here in the next few weeks. Of course, the Grey Cup will be here, and the Eastern semifinal next Sunday afternoon.
Bombers on 3rd and less than a yard, and that should be a Winnipeg first down. No penalty markers.
One thing that I've noticed really happening this afternoon for both quarterbacks is they are taking, of course, their normal drops and setups and the normal time to get ready to throw the football, but the receivers aren't ready to catch it because their patterns have really been slowed down by this icy field. It is taking them longer to run their normal 10, 12, 14-yard hook zones, so the quarterbacks are having to wait for them. Consequently, they are having to run the football maybe a little more than they like to.
A Winnipeg first down out across the 35, 38-yard line. Warren Hudson carries. And Danny Bass was there for one, number 30 for the Eskimos.
Warren Hudson will probably get a little more work here in the second half with Robert Mims being out. That's only the 35th time all season long that he has carried the football, so truly his role is as a lead blocker, but with the injury to Mims, he may get a little more work.
We'll call it a gain of 4, 2nd and 6. Good fake by Burgess. Now does he have time to get it away? He slips with pressure from Brett Williams.
Toaster's having himself another fine year. That's the 11th time he's been able to sack an opposing quarterback, and it comes at a good time. Winnipeg had just picked up a first down. We're on the move, but the Toaster gets through, and he looks pretty happy in that picture and pretty happy as he leaves the field with his 11th sack of 1991.
On 3rd and 15. Bob Cameron. Sandusky lets it go. He's nailed at the 10 by James West. I think he's a little chilly. Larry Willis, I wonder if he's got the electric blanket on.
I would think he probably does.
The other story is at McMahon in Calgary. Let's update that situation.
And it's 17-13 here with under 5 minutes to go.
Here it's 4-4 with the third quarter just underway, and a good run by Michael Souls. The Eskimos start deep in their zone and get a pretty good run from Souls there.
Did Crawford have possession when he went out of bounds there on that touchdown catch?
I wasn't paying as close attention as I should have been, but
it looked close.
9 yards for Michael Souls. 2nd and 1 for the Eskimos. Flag comes down as Souls carries for the first down. I think the Bombers moved a little bit early.
Well, I've always been impressed with Michael Souls. He's been in a backup capacity ever since he has come to the Eskimos from McGill University, but every time he has been given playing time, he hasn't disappointed. Good hard runner along the lines of a Blake Marshall. Not quite as powerful or as strong in the upper body, but nevertheless, you certainly don't lose a great deal, and that's, of course, the great feature of the Eskimos for so many years, their depth.
Edmonton first down at the 27. They began the drive. Back near the 10. Complete on the far side for Jim Sandusky, forced out by Les Brown, number 15. It's a 4-4 ball game at Winnipeg Stadium. If the Eskimos do win or tie this afternoon, they will have first place and home field advantage for the Western Final. That's the simplest of the scenarios. Randolph makes the tackle. Souls was the ball carrier, and Ty Jones was also in on the play.
Yes, he was. And when you throw the swing screen, what you want to do is knock down the outside rush end as quickly as you can. Tyrone Jones was knocked down, but how about that? He gets up, the spin move, and he is able to catch Michael Souls from behind. Great extra effort.
And that forces another kicking situation for the Eskimos. Good kick by Glenn Harper. This is Matt Pierce on the return, looking for footing, and he can't find much. He's out across the 10-yard line, not much more. A 47-yard punt. 8:43 to go, third quarter, and the scoreboard all even. He's had quite a year, Alan Pitts, has he not?
Yeah, he really has. He has become such a steadying force on that Calgary offense. And I think the greatest thing is he picked up the slack when Derek Crawford was hurt and went on to have a record-setting season.
Live action in Winnipeg. Burgess tried to find Grifo, and Mathis was there, number 13. Mark Mathis has knocked a couple out of Grifo's hands this afternoon.
Seems like the defensive players are much more comfortable with the footing out there than the offensive players are. Mark Mathis has no trouble accelerating and getting in on Rob Grifo. Grifo looks like he is walking on broken glass out there. He's not able to get into full stride as he works his patterns downfield.
2nd and 10, Bombers at the 13. Burgess looking deep, and he's picked off. Intercepted by Mike Babb, starting safety for the Eskimos, his first CFL start, and that's his first CFL interception.
And that's what the Eskimos wanted to find out. Rich Stubler, the defensive coordinator for Edmonton, said, I want to play Mike Babb in this game. It's the second game he has played, and see how well he can play center field for us. And that's exactly what he does. Steps in front of Perry Tuttle and comes up with the interception. Obviously his first of the year, and once again, maybe a ball that Tom Burgess shouldn't have thrown. That's why his interception totals are always so high.
A 21-yard return sets the Eskimos up at the Blue Bomber 21. Michael Souls gets the call from there, and he's got about 4 yards.
Just a reminder, the Eskimos have been the most proficient team in the CFL this year at scoring touchdowns once they get down in what we like to call the red zone, the scoring zone. 74 times in 17 games they have been able to get into the end zone. That is the #1 percentage in the league.
They had an opportunity at the 16-yard line earlier in the game, first half, and couldn't find the end zone. 6, 2nd and 4. And was right. Sandusky can't make the catch. It's picked off by Rod Hill, and he's got lots of sidelines. Tracy Ham taken out of the play. Hill will score, or will he? One man to catch him. No. The goal line comes a little sooner on this field. Rod Hill takes it all the way for the first touchdown of the afternoon. A couple of key blocks along the way for Rod Hill's escort to the end zone. A 79-yard interception return.
Oh, how quickly a game could change. Just when it looked like the Eskimos were driving for the go-ahead touchdown, Jim Sandusky cannot hang on to the football. Rod Hill does. He has his 2nd interception of the game, his 2nd touchdown of the year, and he got some pretty good help near the end. James West, 58, got a good block, and it is all Rod Hill, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers score their first touchdown of the afternoon. Seems fitting that it is done by the defense. Let's go back and look. Sandusky right here. He will run the out and let it run. We're going to stop it at some point because I want to show you that Sandusky really should have made the catch. Actually, he's out of the picture right now, but stop it right there. Okay, the ball's loose. Hill picks up. Let it go. And then he has a lot of green astroturf in front of him. Got some good blocks, but only fitting, as I mentioned, that the defense should score the first touchdown of the afternoon.
Tracy Ham taken out right there, Leif. And one more key block to come.
That is James West right there. He gets the final block, held into the end zone.
Bert Cummings is the injured Winnipeg Blue Bomber. And he's in a great deal of pain. They've already got the golf cart out there to help him to the sidelines. Well, we have a moment. We'll send you back to McMahon in Calgary. Rod Hill has the interception to give the Blue Bombers the lead. Could that be the turning point following the game today? We'll check in on that. The Turning Point brought to you by Sony. Bert Cummings is headed to the Winnipeg locker room, and he's in a great deal of pain. Robert Mims already on the sidelines. Troy Westwood's convert is good, and the Bombers are padding their lead. Rod Hill has 2 interceptions today. The big one just moments ago, 79 yards for the touchdown. Are you ready for the playoff puzzle?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's see it here.
Here we go. Number 1, or A if you prefer. If Edmonton loses and Calgary wins, Stampeders finish in top spot.
And of course, the way things are right now, that could very well happen.
B, if Edmonton wins or ties and Calgary wins, the Eskimos finish first.
That could happen too.
Next part of the puzzle. C, if Edmonton wins or ties and Calgary loses, Edmonton gets top spot, but BC would slide into second place and host the Western semifinal. And D, well, if Edmonton loses and Calgary loses, the BC Lions sneak in to first place with Edmonton in second spot and Calgary traveling to Edmonton for the Western semifinal. Now, if there are ties today, folks, there's other areas to explore, but we'll leave that for now if you're not puzzled enough.
I would think the BC Lions are cheering pretty hard right now for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but they trail in that game at McMahon. The Eskimos trail here to the Blue Bombers by 7.
Henry Williams has not had a big day returning for the Eskimos. That's his best run of the day. Stopped by Michael Allen. Here comes Tracy Ham. 9 of 21, 114 yards, 3 interceptions. That's a big part of the story, that 3.
Well, the 1 interception that Rod Hill just took for a touchdown, I mean, turn it around. Should have been a catch by Sandusky, and maybe the Edmonton Eskimos end up scoring a touchdown. So a big break for Winnipeg. Sandusky can't hang on. Hill gets it. Another interception for him.
Eskimos are 1st and 10 beginning at the Edmonton 25. Souls can't grab on coming out of the backfield. He's missed a couple.
Boy, Michael Souls having all kinds of difficulty hanging on to the football today, and once again, had he been able to, he had a couple of blockers out in front on that swing screen that they've been trying desperately to set up, but for some reason, Michael Souls having all kinds of difficulty. He's usually a pretty reliable receiver out of the backfield, but today,
That sets up 2nd and 10, Eskimos at the 25. 6:12 to go, 3rd quarter. And to the far side. No catch. Jim Sandusky was the intended receiver.
Covered on the play by left Brown and Bobby Evans.
So the Eskimos will kick it away again.
Edmonton 3rd and 10 from their own 25.
Glenn Harper standing back at his 10. Penalty marker is down. Harper gets a high kick away. And there's not much of a return. Timeout on the field. We'll sort out the infraction when we return. 5:52 to play, 3rd quarter. The Blue Bombers lead it 11-4 on a 79-yard interception return by Rod Hill. That's the story in Winnipeg. Let's get you caught up at McMahon in Calgary. And at McMahon in Calgary, they're playing on a real CFL field, 110 yards long with big end zones. They have shortened the field here in Winnipeg because of the icy conditions.
Yeah, it is. It's 90 yards long, and end zones are only 10 yards deep this afternoon. The field has been narrowed down to 60 yards from the normal 65, and that was the only way that they could make the field as safe as possible. Just too much ice for the crew to remove. There you see it. That is just outside the edge of the playing surface today, but we give them credit in Winnipeg. They did an unbelievable job to get this mini field ready for play this afternoon.
Both coaches agreed to the new sidelines and new end zones after the CFL made the suggestions to make this field as safe as possible. There was a procedure call against the Eskimos and the punt by Glenn Harper.
On the previous play, there was no infraction. There was officials there. We'll re-kick from the original line of scrimmage.
So there was no procedure call. And not much changes on Pierce's return there. A 44-yard kick by Glenn Harper. You have to be brave to be a football fan in Winnipeg, Leaf. I grew up in this stadium, and it was colder here some other days when we watched.
Well, there are 20,240 brave ones here this afternoon.
First and 10 with the ball at Winnipeg 27.
5:28 to play in the third quarter. Good fake by Burgess, unloading for Hudson. Hudson has some room. First down. Now he's lost the ball, and it's still loose. I think the Eskimos have come up with a football. They had several opportunities. Hudson had the first down, then lost the ball.
Well, they set up the screen so nicely to Warren Hudson. Bob Molly out in front, 64 with a block on Willie Pless, but Warren Hudson, the good hit from Mike Babb, who's made some tremendous plays, knocks the ball loose, and the Eskimos come up with the recovery. Number 91, the toaster, Brett Williams, I think the final guy to make that recovery, so they get a break and try and get back into this one as they trail by 7.
Eskimos first down at the Edmonton 35. Tracy Ham, the fake, comes to the near side, and Armstrong should have made the catch. Number 77. He has been the most sure-handed receiver of the Eskimos so far.
Good play action to the outside. Alfred Payton does a nice job to keep Ham to the inside where he throws, and he throws an absolute dart that Chris Armstrong just simply can hang on to. Ham's numbers are going to look terrible from this afternoon's game, but he sure hasn't had a lot of help from his receivers. Michael Zoles has dropped at least 3, and now Chris Armstrong should have had one.
2nd and 10. Ham under the cover, and Taylor can't hang on. Dropsy, dropsy, dropsy.
Oh, yeah, everywhere. Taylor, that's the second one he's coughed up this afternoon. Boy, that starts to wear on a quarterback. I mean, Tracy Ham must be saying to himself, what do I have to do? I know the conditions are tough, but I can't throw the ball any better than I'm throwing it. My guy's got to make some plays for me. But Reggie Taylor, once again, is not able to hang on. I'm not sure he would have been able to pick up a first down, but nevertheless, he needs to make the catch.
Harper's kick inside the 10, and no return from Matt Pierce.
Boy, has he punted well this afternoon. 42-yard kick. Glenn Harper, it seems like every punt that he has hit this afternoon, no problem for him.
Going out of bounds at the 13-yard line.
Chilly day in Winnipeg. We have to give Manitoba fans a little more credit. There are, in fact, on a recount, 24,000 here this afternoon.
Well, I give them full credit coming out on a day like today, and they know how to dress for it.
That's right. It's as simple as that.
Sure.
Perfect right there. Got the Skidoo parked right outside the stadium. Matt Pierce carries on 1st and 10 for the Bombers. 4:03 to go, third quarter. Winnipeg in front, 11-4.
Buddy.
There's a few snowmobiles outside the stadium. Coldest winter in Manitoba since '83. That was 1883. Warming trend is on the way, however. 2nd and 4. And the Bombers come up short.
Tough decisions here for Tom Burgess. You know, 2nd and 4, and what do? Normally you love to run the football with Robert Mims in there. He is injured. The ankle too bad to come in and play the second half. You have Matt Pierce. He's not a bad running back, but certainly not a Robert Mims. So 2nd and 4, where they normally would have run, and as they did there, their chances aren't nearly as good at picking up first downs. His numbers, ooh,
Burgess,
icy.
Yeah, the Burgess passing game is stone cold right now.
Well, he leads, though. That's
He's up by 7. Cameron standing at his own 5. Sandusky couldn't hang on. Now a penalty flag comes down. No yards against the Blue Bombers. Eskimos will come away with decent field position.
No yards. Winnipeg number 44. First down.
Building snowmen in the stands in Winnipeg, where the Bombers lead 11-4. Here's the story in Winnipeg. 1st and 10 Eskimos at the Blue Bomber 29. Winnipeg leading 11-4. Let's get you caught up on what's gone on in Calgary. Here's Gordon Miller.
And it's going to be a tough one for Tim Walton in the second half.
And this will play a key role in the second half of the ballgame. We'll keep you up to date. But right now, let's go back to Winnipeg.
And you saw Reggie Taylor carry for close to a first down. He's got at least 8 yards.
And he was brought down by Alfred Payton.
And they'll mark it a gain of 9 for Reggie Taylor.
Well, I think the law of averages should be in Edmonton's favor here. They have had so many scoring opportunities, have come away with nothing, but now a wonderful chance for them to get back into this game.
Edmonton trailing by 7. 2nd down. 1 to go at the Winnipeg 20. Soul stopped initially, broke off one tackle, and easily has the first down near the 15.
Bobby Evans is making the tackle.
2:07 to go, 3rd quarter. A win or a tie, and the Eskimos finish 1st in the Western Division. Edmonton now 1st and 10 at the Blue Bomber 15. And trying to find an open receiver. Now on the run. And some room down the sidelines as Ham is forced out near the 5. Alfred Payton was there, number 56. Randolph was in the neighborhood, number 36. And Ham has a first down.
And he initially wanted to throw a quick one to Chris Armstrong, but he slipped just as he was going to go into his break. Tracy Ham, of course, now has to ad-lib, and see there, he wants to hit Armstrong. Armstrong slipped and almost fell down, so Ham ad-libs, and boy, he is so good at running and picking up some yardage. He's got his team in a great opportunity to score their first touchdown.
Absolutely right. 1st and goal to go from the 3. Souls is stopped short. Forced back by that Winnipeg front 3. And led there by Stan Mikowas. You think Darrell's having a good time?
No. He'll have a good time if his team wins, but he looks a little frosty there on the sidelines. Mikowas with the good defensive play. Oh, this is a great, this is a real challenge here. The offensive line of the Eskimos, the defensive front 7 of the Bombers. Who can get the edge in the leverage?
2nd and goal. Good fake by Ham. Can he get into the end zone? Touchdown, Tracy Ham. Set it up with a great fake, and Ham goes around the end. 38 seconds on the clock.
Well, as he so often has done, he takes control of the game himself. A good run to set them up for a touchdown attempt, and now the fake. He gets it to the outside and into the end zone. The Eskimos finally take advantage of their field position and come up with their first touchdown of the afternoon.
Awaiting the convert. It's 11-10 right now. Steve Dorsey, and it's all even at 11.
Have you got your tie scenario sheet ready? Or?
Yeah, I think I have here, but a tie for the Eskimos.
I think that's good for them.
That's good for Edmonton, because a tie puts the Eskimos a point ahead of everyone else in the West. Now, if Calgary and Edmonton both tie, then things get a little dicey here.
5 plays, 29 yards, and Tracy Ham caps it off with his 3-yard touchdown, his 6th rushing touchdown of the season, and it is all locked up at 11.
Ooh, it's a chilly day. Most popular spot in the stadium, right around the big heaters.
Larry Willis, he has been in the front row every time we have taken a shot of that heater. I don't think Larry's caught one today, but we have found him close to that warm area at the Bomber bench.
Ready for the kickoff. Pierce on the return. Forced out near the 20-yard line. Bombers' only touchdown on an interception return by Rod Hill, 79 yards. The Eskimos get even on the Tracy Ham touchdown from 3 yards away. Kickers have handled the rest of the scoring. It's 11-11. As Tom Burgess comes in once more and tries to get something going. It is a little more difficult without the #1 offensive weapon in your backfield. Robert Mims is on the sidelines.
Well, it definitely changes your thinking. I mean, you cannot count on picking up a lot of yardage on the ground now.
Matt Pierce not as effective as Robert Mims, no question about that.
Willie Pless was right there to make the play, and now the strategy, of course, for the Eskimo defense changes too. They know a Robert Mims is not in there, and a lot easier job for them to stop the run.
Gain is 2, 2nd and 8. Should be the final play of the 3rd quarter. Burgess is intercepted. No, hang on. The reception was made by Mathis, and he was out of bounds.
Caught by Mark Mathis, but I believe it's out of bounds.
Tommy Burgess trying to hit Rick House on the out, but Mark Mathis read it perfectly. He was in front, and no question he was out of bounds as he made that catch. Nevertheless, solid defensive work.
And the Bombers get set to kick it away. A frigid afternoon in Winnipeg. Keeping warm in Winnipeg. On a chilly afternoon, you have to dance a little bit.
Yeah, and our final game of the week together this year. We've had a pretty interesting CFL season, and Tom Burgess is very lucky right here that Mark Mathis did not get the interception. He makes the catch, but in the opinion of the officials, he was out of bounds. So actually, the Bombers dodge a bullet there. They will, however, have to kick the ball away.
And we're ready for the 4th quarter to begin with Bob Cameron.
Well, I should say it's not really our final game of the week on TSN, because we will, at the conclusion of this game, of course, go to McMahon Stadium in Calgary for the completion of that game. So that will be the final CFL game of the year.
Cameron standing inside his 10. Good charge that time by Bam. Here's the Giz on the return. Some room far side for Henry Williams. Matt Pierce tracks him down. The Eskimos will get great field position. All even in Winnipeg, 11-11. And here are the numbers. The Eskimos with 194 yards. Net turnovers, a problem for Edmonton. 4 compared to 2 for Winnipeg. And I guess that's the biggest reason it's all even right now. 1 turnover cost the Eskimos a touchdown.
Well, only 30 passing yards after 3 quarters of football for the Bombers.
1st and 10 Edmonton. Out near midfield at the 41. Michael Souls. And he'll have a first down. Tough running inside for Michael Souls. Ran right over Darrell Sampson.
Well, you know, the offense misses a Blake Marshall, but I'll tell you, Mike Souls has done a nice job filling in for him, and the same kind of power running. Randy Ambrosi leads him up through the hole, and watch the hit he put on Michael Allen, 33. Michael Allen really felt that and was a little slow getting up.
First down, Edmonton. This is Reggie Taylor, and that's another Edmonton first down. 15 for Taylor here.
Boy, Michael Souls has had trouble catching the football today, but running and blocking. Watch the kick-out block. Here comes Reggie Taylor right up through. Let it run. Michael Souls doing the little things well this afternoon. A good block and a good run. That opens a nice hole for Reggie Taylor.
First downs in a row for the Eskimos. Sets Edmonton up at the Winnipeg 23. Souls once more. He's got about 4.
Mike Souls set a Vanier Cup record when he was the running back with the McGill Redmond, and 267 odd yards that day. I remember I did the game, and it was a real treat to watch him, and of course watch him progress into the CFL and do a fine job in a backup capacity for the Eskimos, and of course now getting his chance to start.
The game 4, 2nd and 6. Eskimos at the Winnipeg 19. Taylor caught by James West. It's a big play by the Bomber defense.
James West has been a pretty active linebacker for the Bombers this afternoon. Watch as Taylor tries to get to the outside. Here comes Wild West. He is there to make the play, and the Edmonton Eskimos cannot pick up the first down. Nobody to block West. Michael Souls couldn't get on him, and he makes the good tackle on the open field.
Enter Dean Dorsey. A 46-yard field goal attempt by Dorsey. And it's into the wind. But it's through.
Oh, did he ever hit that well? I mean, you recall the 27-yarder by Westwood barely got there. And this one from what, 42?
46.
46. How about that? What a great kick that was. He absolutely nailed this one perfectly. A good hold, and he's just inside. That is some kick.
And that is for the lead as it stands right now. The Eskimos back in front, leading 14-11. If it ended now, the Edmonton Eskimos would be in top spot in the Western Division. However, 12 minutes, 11 seconds remain.
Yes.
Nippy afternoon.
It is a chilly one. Compound that with the gusting winds, so your minus 13 becomes a lot worse than that.
Who's hiding under that coat down there? And always at the ready, the emergency snow removal system. But Bomber fans are prepared, 24,000 strong here this afternoon. Dorsey's kickoff squibbed along the ground. Matt Pierce. And he's out to about the 25.
Matt Pierce has had a lot of work this afternoon. He's returned punts, he's returning kickoffs, and he's the starting running back now since the injury to Robert Mims. He's going to be one tired customer after this game is over.
He looks like the Lone Ranger in reverse. First and 10 for the Bombers. Beginning at the Winnipeg 25. Breaks a couple of tackles. Big first down as he gets out to around the 40. A 15-yard gain for Warren Hudson, his biggest play of the afternoon.
And he's done a nice job picking up the slack in that running game on the draw here. Watch, he'll break it back to the outside, and Larry Ruck, who's usually a sure tackler in the open field, Hudson just bounces off him and keeps going.
Michel Bourgeau is the injured Eskimo. There was actually talk about postponing this game yesterday. This is what Winnipeg Stadium looked like about 24 hours ago. More ice here than there was at the arena across the street.
Oh, absolutely. They worked so hard, and at noon today, you couldn't believe the difference in this field. A lot of credit certainly goes to the crew here at Winnipeg Stadium for getting this field in shape. And
who is the masked man warming up before the game at 12:30 today?
Well, I think it was one of the Winnipeg quarterbacks. He throws like a quarterback anyway.
First place is on the line here today. The Eskimos can clinch it with a win over the Blue Bombers, or even a tie. Right now, Edmonton leading 14-11. Bourgeau seems to be okay as he heads to the sidelines. First and 10. Winnipeg after a 15-yard gain. Matt Pierce. Maybe a yard. Davidson was in on the tackle. Number 96.
A lot at stake this afternoon for the Edmonton Eskimos, currently tied with the BC Lions, but if they continue to lead and win this game, they will outrightly hold first place in the West. So a lot at stake here with 11 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
Second in a bunch. Almost picked up. In fact, it is by Willie Pless. Pless bobbled it for a second and then held on. Sixth interception of the season for Willie Pless.
Okay, here's Willie Pless right here. Watch him drop back into his coverage, and they're going to try and set up the screen right here. The ball is overthrown just enough that Willie Pless is able to react to it, make the interception, his sixth of the season, and this is a pretty heads-up play. Watch, he fights through the block and makes the interception.
And Burgess was under pressure from the toaster. First and 10 for the Eskimos on the turnover from the 43. Good fake by Ham, who fooled everybody with a fake to Souls. He had you blinking twice, too, didn't he?
Yeah, he faked me out on that one, but he didn't fake out Tyrone Jones and Alfred Payton because they were right there to deliver the hit as Tracy threw the football. And I don't know who he was throwing to.
Neither do I. Second and 10. Evans the tackle. Ellis's first catch of the day, and that keeps a streak in line for Craig Ellis. First and 10 Eskimos at the Bomber 31. Taylor. What a great run by Taylor. And West decked somebody. I think Souls as both players were in the pile.
Well, at the Sky Dome this afternoon, the Argos and the Rough Riders met, and
three-pointer.
The Argonauts take it. They keep their unbeaten streak at home. Went the entire season undefeated at Sky Dome. Pretty impressive for them.
Ottawa will be here next weekend against the Blue Bombers.
This will be an interesting spot. I don't think he picked up the first down.
Is it easily going to the third?
Ron Lancaster not going to take any chances here, sending Glenn Harper into the game. I'm actually kind of surprised. It's about a yard to go. They have a 3-point lead, and on this short field, I don't know, watch for the fake.
But a 4-point lead would mean the Bombers couldn't tie them with a field goal. Harper as it bounced and bounced back. Penalty markers come down as the Bombers recover. And I think we lost the camera, folks.
What a big piece of machinery went down in a hurry. I think you're going to get a close look at this one.
Here's what the cameraman saw and is still seeing. Very nice of Les Brown down there on the sidelines and Alfred Payton to help lift the camera back up. Penalty marker down. Try and fire up camera 3. We'll take a quick break here with the Eskimos leading the Bombers 14-11. Penalty was waved off because it was the kicker within the 5-yard restraining area, so it is a first down for Winnipeg at the 15. Good fake by Burgess. Willis makes the catch. It'll be a first down. Like Willis, first catch of the day.
Now, how do you think they keep warm at commercial timeouts? Dance class.
Yeah, you roll the music and the Bombers will dance for you.
That's it.
Looks like the pre-game warm-up, but actually it's the fourth quarter warm-up.
Aerobics.
.7:33 to go. Fourth quarter. Eskimos leading 14-11. First down, Winnipeg.
Go, Larry. Go, Larry.
Pressure on Burgess. Throwing on the run. Willis, the intended receiver. It's picked off again. Eddie Thomas, 7th interception of the season.
And really a ball that Tom Burgess should not have thrown. I mean, you trail by 3, you've got a great chance to win this game, but you can't make mistakes like this. He's thrown some interceptions this afternoon that have been very questionable as to whether he should have thrown the ball or not. That definitely was a throw he should have eaten. Oh, Thomas with a good year. Rookie season, 7 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown. How about that?
That sets the Eskimos up 1st and 10 at the Winnipeg 38. Reggie Taylor on the run. And a loose ball. Who's got it? Looks like the Eskimos retained possession.
The ball may have come loose, but the official signaled he was down. So, of course, the ground cannot cause the fumble. Alfred Payton would not agree with that, number 56.
It'll stand as a gain of 6. Eskimos on 2nd and 4. Winnipeg 32. Ham over the middle. Ellis makes the catch. That'll be a first down. He was pinned there by Evans.
Craig Ellis has made a living at catching that hook pattern, and on a slippery field, Bobby Evans has to give him some room, and he, of course, gives Ellis enough room to go down, run the hook, turn around, and with good protection, Tracy Ham was right on target.
Now 5:57 to go. Fourth quarter. Edmonton leading by 3. Edmonton first down at At the 22, fumble on the exchange as Taylor couldn't hang on to the pitch from Tracy Ham. Ham recovers. Let's send you to McMahon in Calgary for quick updates. 2nd and 17 facing Ham and the Eskimos in Winnipeg. And a penalty marker goes down. Sampson was covering on Armstrong.
That is not the penalty flag on Sampson. They do not call interference on this one. It's back with the lineman. Trevor Bowles, 66 from Edmonton, was fighting with somebody, and how they will sort this out, I don't know. He and Mike Gray were lying on the ground having a pretty good tussle.
Black hat today being worn by Dave Ewell. (14-11) Edmonton leading Winnipeg into the final 5 minutes now.
Rough play, disqualification. Winnipeg number 52 for kicking.
That's Michael Gray.
So he has been disqualified, and we'll see no more action this afternoon. He and Trevor Bowles, who have had a pretty good battle all afternoon, were going at it, and on the ground, Mike Gray obviously kicked him, and the referee saw it, and now he is kicked out.
So the Eskimos move inside the Winnipeg 20, where it will be 1st and 10.
Mike doesn't want to leave.
Still arguing his case. He's obviously warmed up, doesn't want to go to the dressing room. So long, Mike. He started his career with the BC Lions.
He was a Shenley rookie way back with BC, moved down to Ottawa, and now, of course, with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And, well, I can't forget his key interception a few years ago that denied the BC Lions a Grey Cup victory. Matt Dunnigan was picked off late in the game. Michael Gray was the one who picked it off and preserved the Winnipeg Grey Cup.
That was the Grey Cup in Ottawa.
Yes, it was.
1st and 10 Eskimos. Early movement, and flags are everywhere. Pierre Verscheval got a quick start that time. So the penalty goes against Edmonton. The Eskimos leading by 3 at 14-11.
Procedure, Edmonton number 54.
Edmonton called for illegal procedure.
4:52 to go, 4th quarter.
15, Edmonton.
It'll be 1st and 15 for the Eskimos. Taylor gets the call. Stopped by Stan Mikolas, number 77.
That'll be 2nd and just a little bit better than 10 yards. Biggest play of the afternoon for the Winnipeg defense. If they can hold Edmonton to at least a field goal here and trail by 6, they still have a good shot to win this ball game. Biggest play of the game right now.
Ham. Touchdown. Chris Armstrong from Tracy Ham.
Tracy Ham with a perfect delivery, first touchdown pass of the afternoon for him, and Chris Armstrong, who's been the main man the last few weeks for the Edmonton Eskimos, comes up with the catch, and what a huge catch it was.
Not much of an end zone to work with here.
No, at the last second, you know, he just jabbed his feet down and remembered, hey, this is only a 10-yard end zone today. He did a super job, and that could be the play that clinches first place in the West.
Armstrong had a big catch early in the game. In the first half, a 45-yard reception to set up a field goal.
Oh, and a few weeks ago, remember, he made the long touchdown catch against BC to send that game in overtime, which the Eskimos eventually won. He has been a big part of their late season success.
4:03 to go, and the Bombers have slipped behind by 9 as it stands right now.
Offside, Winnipeg. Penalty to be applied on the kickoff. We'll re-kick.
Winnipeg outside.
Well, it's getting a little bit quiet at Winnipeg Stadium right now. The Bombers really had nothing to prove this afternoon except to get ready for the Eastern semifinal next week against Ottawa.
Ottawa's had some success against Winnipeg this year, too, so don't count them out.
Dorsey will try the point after once more. This time, no markers, and the point will stand. The Eskimos lead it by 10. 4:03 to go. And that might lock up top spot in the West for the Edmonton Eskimos on a slippery, slippery field in Winnipeg.
Say what's up, kid? What's up, everybody? And I want to say to my lady in North Carolina.
We'll send you there for the conclusion in Calgary right after we finish up here in Winnipeg. Look at this. We've already got a short field. It's 90 yards long today. And with penalties against the Blue Bombers, the kickoff is almost in Winnipeg territory. The Eskimos try the short one and come up with a ball. The safety, Michael Babb. Interception earlier.
Winnipeg had an offside penalty on the convert. They had an objectionable conduct penalty. That added 20 yards onto the kickoff. So Ron Lancaster said, heck, why bother kicking it deep? Let's try the onsider. And Dean Dorsey with a perfect kick. Mike Babb, the newcomer, goes high in the air to make the reception. The Eskimos retain the ball.
And it'll be 1st and 10 Edmonton at the Bomber 18.
Give the Eskimos credit. You know, things were close in the fourth quarter. They have really dominated in this fourth quarter, taken control of the game, and well, the outcome looks pretty certain that they will have first place.
Michael Souls stopped from behind by Paul Randolph and Les Brown up front. Three-yard gain. It'll be 2nd and 7 as the Eskimos get into the final 3 minutes.
Need a linebacker. Okay, Brendan.
Hasn't been a great day in the neighborhood.
No, not a great day in the neighborhood for Mr. Rogers.
He was very candid and friendly as we chatted yesterday about his Blue Bombers and getting set for the playoffs against Ottawa. A little worried about his kick return game, both punt returns and kickoff returns. It really hasn't materialized, has it?
Well, he said we have none. You know, that's one area, and of course in Canadian Football League, which is such a big part of your total yards in a game, he said we absolutely have a horrendous kick return game, and it will not change. We'll have to do something about that next year. Well, this tells the whole story here. Look at Williams. He set a new league record for punt returns this year, and at least double what the Bombers have done totally as a team this year. So that tells the complete story. How about Darryl Rogers? We talked to him about Dave Bavell. Much was made of that situation. Bavell being released, ending up with the Argonauts. He said, hey, management decision, not mine.
My call.
Not my call. He wanted to be clear to that one in a hurry.
2nd and 7 for the Eskimos now at the Winnipeg 15. Edmonton leading 21-11. And content to grind it out along the ground here, Michael Souls. 12 carries, 61 yards for Michael Souls on the afternoon. Timeout in Winnipeg. Tracy Ham heads to the sidelines to warm up a bit. And we'll take a timeout here. Less than 3 minutes to go. Our game of the week continues at Winnipeg Stadium with the Eskimos in front by 10 points into the final 3 minutes in the fourth quarter now. And it would appear that the Eskimos have locked up top spot So that is playoff puzzle B, as it looks right now. Anyway, if Edmonton wins or ties and Calgary wins, here's the order of finish. Calgary would get a home game against the BC Lions next weekend. But that game is not over. We'll send you to McMahon in Calgary at the conclusion here in Winnipeg.
Well, you have to love the way the season ends. You play 18 weeks and you fight tooth and nail, and it comes down to the very last game, very last quarter of football to decide 3 spots in the Western Conference. That's exciting.
Yeah, and playoff puzzles A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Oh, yeah. A lot of scenarios today.
Third down and 1 to go. The Eskimos at the Winnipeg 9. Ham himself, and he should have the first down.
It's funny, you're talking to Tracy Ham yesterday. We sat down and had a chat, and they expected BC to win last night, and Tracy figured, well, I may just play a quarter today
and stay warm.
And stay warm, and the other guys will take care of the rest for me. But lo and behold, BC loses. Tracy plays all 4 quarters and ends up with first place. So that's not all bad.
Not bad at all. 2:22 to go. 4th quarter. First and goal to go. The Eskimos are at Winnipeg 8. And Michael Scholes has the ball once more. He's down to about the 1. James West was in on the tackle. Benny Goods celebrating already on the sideline. Yeah, I think that's the difference. All right, Lee. 10 points 4th quarter for the Eskimos, and that's the margin right now.
They took control of this game.
Michael Scholes is stopped short on 1st and goal to go from the 1. Or 2nd and goal to go from the 1. Alfred Payton, number 56.
Boy, he slashed down so quickly from the outside linebacking spot. Michael Scholes had no chance to get in the end zone. Watch to the top of your screen. Here comes Payton, and he hits Scholes in the backfield. Nevertheless, the Eskimos have run the football extremely well here in the 4th quarter. It was the big touchdown pass that broke it open to Chris Armstrong, but oh, how nice it is to have a running game in November.
You needed it early November today. Tracy Ham, and he has the touchdown. 2nd of the day for Tracy Ham, and Ron Lancaster is number 1 in the West.
Got to feel happy for Ronnie. You know, he's taken a lot of heat this year with some of the decisions he has made. You look back at the overtime game they lost at home to BC a few weeks ago. His call to give up the ball, and earlier in the year they had a chance to win a game in Ottawa. A decision foiled
Ran out
that.
of time, yeah.
But now a smile on his face that after week 18 he will end up in first place. The final nail in the Winnipeg coffin this afternoon. Tracy Ham's 2nd touchdown on the ground.
A minute 32 to wrap things up. The Eskimos leading 27-11. Looks awfully weird when they line up for a convert that close to the goalpost, doesn't it? They shortened the field by 20 yards today because of the icy conditions around Winnipeg Stadium. So the Bombers and the Eskimos have played on a 90-yard football field.
Edmonton number 18. Penalties will be applied on the kickoff.
Dean Dorsey adds 1 more to the Eskimo total. And a long field goal into the wind 46 yards earlier, and that gave the Eskimos the lead for the first time in the 2nd half. It's 28-11 now, and we send you to McMahon in Calgary.
Peterson.
I don't know.
He's the safety for the Stampeders. My, oh my.
Nowhere to be seen on that play, so the finish at McMahon and the final standings in the West still very much up in the air. We'll send you there right after we finish here in Winnipeg. Ron Lancaster has things pretty well wrapped up for the Edmonton Eskimos. Edmonton Edmonton kickoff rolling out of bounds.
Yeah, let's go back to the playoff puzzle here, because it gets a little more interesting if the Stampeders lose. Great big factor for the BC Lions. They get to stay at home and play in the nice confines of BC Place instead of traveling to Calgary next week. So a lot at stake here, and we of course will join Gord Miller and Jamie Bone at the end of this game and to the conclusion of the Rough Riders in the Calgary Stampeder game.
Ron Lancaster knows he'll have the Western final at Commonwealth.
John, I've been through it before as a player. There is no greater feeling than clinching first place in your conference. You get a couple of weeks before you have to play, and at this time of the year you can heal up some guys that are bruised and nicked, and the elation of finishing first is unbelievable.
And after a day like this, you may need a week just to thaw out.
Well, it hasn't exactly been balmy up in Edmonton when they've been practicing. You know, I mean, I think they're kind of used to this. But what a tremendous feeling to work for 18 weeks and through your preseason and then finally cap it off with a first place finish. And our congratulations certainly go out to Ron Lancaster, his coaching staff, and the entire management. Hugh Campbell, Bruce Lemmerman. Done a nice job.
I'd love to have sat with Ron last night back at the Westin Hotel and watched the final moments of the Tiger Cats victory. Do you think he was cheering for John Gregory and the boys from Hamilton that gave the Eskimos their shot at first place today? Burgess running out of time finds Matt Pierce with a minute 21 to go.
Run out of bounds by Roy Finn. Gain of 6 yards, 2nd and 4. And the ball is at the 35.
To go. Burgess takes off himself. He'll have the first down. Slow down before you hit the ice, Tommy. Saved by an unknown bomber on the sideline. Didn't catch the number. He's got the parka on.
Well, one thing that I like about today's game that I don't think the conditions have caused any undue injury to the players. And of course that was uppermost in the mind of both head coaches as they entered into today's game, but really the elements have not affected anything injury-wise this afternoon.
Burgess steps up, finds Barry Tuttle. Tuttle forced out at the Blue Bomber bench. 1:07 to go. Part of the Bomber problems this afternoon, no question about it, the loss of Robert Mims early in the game. Well, the game was gone.
It was a huge problem, not only for Dale Rogers, but for Tom Burgess, because he just did not throw the ball effectively. And of course, when you lose the biggest part of your offense, which is your running game, and you were in a lot of trouble, as they were.
Hudson makes the catch. And that'll be another Winnipeg first down with time ticking down.
Well, you see Willie Pless right in the middle of your screen. What an afternoon he has had. In fact, an entire season for him. So impressed with him. He came over as a free agent and didn't disappoint. 6 interceptions, 7 sacks, and he has made play after play just like he did right here. Good tackle on Warren Hudson. That is not a lot of fun, bringing down a guy like Warren Hudson late in the game on a cold day. Well, I'll say it again. I felt he should have been the defensive player in the Western Conference. Only my opinion, though.
Yeah, well, you're entitled to your opinion.
Yep.
No question about that.
Might have voted for Darryl Fort in the East, too.
You would have got a lot of support on that particular vote, I think. But Will Johnson in Calgary didn't have a bad season.
No,
14 sacks.
I agree with his sack leader. He had a great year, but I just thought Willie Pless had an outstanding year.
Into the final minute now.
We need that clock running.
Burgess almost intercepted.
Mark Mathis has had a lot of chances this afternoon for interceptions and hasn't been able to come up with one. Well, in a few weeks we're going to see who wins some of these awards. Well, who do you like there, Wellesley? Get off the
Well,
fence.
that's a close one. Volpe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe Volpe.
John Volpe for me,
Lots
too.
of touchdowns. Chomik versus Blake Marshall. Some guys don't like kickers in the Canadian category.
Hands down, Blake Marshall will win that one.
Burgess to the end zone. Willis makes the catch and stays in bounds. Larry Willis, couple of catches this afternoon. A late one for the touchdown. Too little, too late. 30-yard touchdown toss.
Sure was a nice throw by Tom Burgess. Regardless of that, the Bombers will not win this game, but Larry Willis got in behind Eddie Thomas, and watch Tommy Burgess. Best throw he's made all afternoon. Comes with 41 seconds remaining. That's pretty.
60 yards in 6 plays. It's a little easier with the Eskimo defense laying back a little bit, though. 28-17 on the scoreboard, favoring the Eskimos, who have wrapped up top spot on the West with 41 seconds to go. Now it's a 10-point game at 28-18. Should we finish off the award winners?
Yeah, let's do it.
And the nominees are Chris Walby and Jim Mills.
Chris Walby.
Okay. Let's open the envelope on this one. Greg Battle, Will Johnson.
Will Johnson.
I love you. And there's no doubt about this, is there?
Robert Mims. No, Doug Flutie. I mean, hey, it's not even close. Mims had a great year, but Doug Flutie over 6,000 yards. Unbelievable. Sign him to a new contract in a hurry for next year.
Starting to get a little lonely here at Winnipeg Stadium. There aren't many of us left. .41 seconds to go. The Eskimos by 10, 28-18. Short kickoff here, Leaf. Is there any use in trying it?
Oh, yeah, I would try it. It's always good to practice it regardless of whether you have a chance to get back in this game. They trail by 10. I mean, stranger things have happened, but I know the Edmonton Eskimos are expecting an onside kick. They've got all their people in there that are used to handling the football.
And the Bombers just roll it down now.
They didn't wait for the whistle to start play, so they'll have to do this one again, I believe.
Well, the discussion will continue down there.
Well, Marco Sincar made the recovery, but I don't think the whistle had ever sounded to put the ball in play, so he just throws it back to the Bombers and said, hey, look, try it again. That onside kick didn't look too good.
Batted out of bounds by Gartner, so the Eskimos will hang on to possession. Let's send you to Calgary and Gordon Miller.
Gonna have a good finish in Calgary.
Stay with us for that right after we wrap things up here in Winnipeg. 41 seconds to go. Souls for a couple. Eskimos can hardly wait to hit the dressing room now. Bombers likely feel about the same.
Yeah, I think outside of a couple of drop balls and that, the players have done a pretty good job this afternoon in some very, very difficult conditions.
17 seconds now. And more happening in Calgary. We'll send you back. So I wonder if the BC Lions are calling the travel agency. So hard to believe that with first place on the line last night, the Lions couldn't quite grab top spot.
They look tight in the first. I only saw the first half, but they look tight to me.
Into the final 16 seconds in Winnipeg now, and there were 24,000 fans here this afternoon. I count 24 in front of us right now. Can't blame them for heading home. Harper's kick taken by Pierce, and he's out around the 15. Last night, the stadium at BC Place, everything looked rosy on the outside. Then the new quarterback, McPherson, found Jamie Morris for that touchdown.
Good opportunity for Don McPherson to show his stuff for head coach John Gregory. So going into training camp, maybe some questions have been answered as to McPherson's ability to lead this club. But I thought he had a great game.
26-17 the final at BC Place last night, and that cost the Lions top spot in the West, which has been claimed here this afternoon by the Edmonton Eskimos. 7 seconds to go. Burgess for Streeter, and I think he might have let that one sail over his head. Short-armed it a little bit, isn't that what they say?
I think he did.
Too late in the season. No chance of a victory.
This is a prevent defense to beat all prevent defenses. They are 40 yards off the line of scrimmage, the defensive backs of Edmonton. They will not show up in the game film.
The lens is not wide enough. Part of the story of the afternoon for the Blue Bombers. Drop passes. Hudson missed that one. Lancaster wins the West in his first year as the head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos. Still to be decided, second place. We'll have more on that story when we continue on the CFL this afternoon. Final is 28-18, Edmonton winning. Today's TSN Turning Points, brought to you by Sony.
Turning point, undoubtedly the interception in the fourth quarter by Willie Pless, the tremendous linebacker of the Edmonton Eskimos. The score tied 11-11. Willie Pless comes up with the key interception in the ballgame. That led to a field goal. The Eskimos went ahead and never looked back as they won the ballgame and clinched first place.
A cash donation to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of coaches in amateur sport will be made on behalf of TSN and Sony Handycam. Memories are made with this. Here's the final in Winnipeg. Ron Lancaster and the Edmonton Eskimos get a week off to rest for the Western Final as a result of a 28-18 victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this afternoon. I guess, Leaf, simply put, the Eskimos came on in the fourth quarter when they had to.
Well, they really gave a championship performance in that fourth quarter and, of course, won this game, clinched first place. But I think in the Blue Bombers' defense, when they lost Robert Mims in the first half, it really took a lot of wind out of their sails. Their game is predicated on grinded out on the ground. They just couldn't do it, and then Edmonton took control.
And Tom Burgess had a bit of an off afternoon passing for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers today. The final stats will show that, as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers passed for only 91 yards on the day. Tracy Ham managed 152. Despite the turnovers, the Eskimos win.
Well, the turnover factor, tough for Tom Burgess. He simply threw a couple of balls that shouldn't have been thrown. They cost him with interceptions, and those interceptions in the second half led to points. So same old story for Winnipeg. They can run the ball well, but the passing game, yeah, a little suspect.
A little suspect. The Bombers will get ready for the Ottawa Roughriders here in the Eastern semifinal next weekend, and the Eskimos get a week to rest and find out who they'll play in the Western Final. It's either Calgary or British Columbia. And the story continues to unfold at McMahon Stadium now. We send you there with Gord Miller.